the 1:20 p.m. agenda for Hawaiian Affairs. And the first bill on our agenda, SB438, relating to the budget of Office of Hawaiian Affairs. So on this measure, 430, we've got, of course, OHA. So we'll have you folks, you can start. Yeah, and all testimonies in support except for the Center for Hawaiian Sovereignty Studies.
Aloha, kaluna ho'omalu, Shimabukuro, me ka hope Galuteria, me nā lalau ke komike kuleana Hawaii, ke aloha iau ko apau. On behalf of the trustees and the CEO of the Office of Hawaiian Affairs, my name is Kavika Burgess. I'm the Chief Operating Officer. I'd like to apologize on behalf of our CEO, Kamana'o Pono Crab. He did come down with the flu, and so he's fighting with the flu at home right now, but he hopes to be back shortly to share in front of you all. We, as you mentioned, are here for our budget before this committee, and I guess just to highlight just a quick background, you guys are all very familiar with our origins and how we were formed in the Constitution and our kuleana for the betterment of Native Hawaiians. As you know, our Native Hawaiian population makes up approximately 20% of the state population, and our mission is to malama our people, our resources, and our assets for the perpetuation of our culture, enhancing our lifestyle, as well as the protection of our entitlements, while also seeking to build a strong and healthy Hawaiian nation. So we're continuing on that mission, and basically the budget request that we have before you is in direct assistance to our strategic plan to assist in our priorities in our strategic plan, our strategic priorities, as well as our strategic results. And I'll just refer you to table 1 of our testimony as kind of the direct impacts and areas that we're seeking to address is in the areas of education, particularly increasing math and reading standards among our beneficiaries, and increasing the number of students that we can help there. In economic self-sufficiency, we are looking to basically increase the median family income, as well as home ownership among our beneficiaries through these grant proposals, as well as in health, decreasing chronic disease and obesity among our beneficiaries. And then lastly, providing legal representation for those who are unrepresented and underrepresented. So on the specific budget details or for any questions regarding the budget request, I'm going to turn it over to Holly Iona, our Chief Financial Officer.
Okay. Aloha mai kako. I'll just, if you don't mind, take you through a couple of different pages in our testimony before opening it up to any questions. So as our Ponui referenced the strategic plan, what we did this year is we actually included infographics to assist with our ask. The infographics are intended to highlight exactly what OHA intends to commit now that we are asking for the state funding, what we intend to commit dollar for dollar, as well as what we think we can leverage through our grants program, through the grantees themselves, through their community match as far and cash versus in-kind as well. So beginning on page number 16, you'll see the summary infographic that we have, and in Appendix A, we have the larger versions of it. So at a glance, you'll see that OHA is committed overall for every dollar that the state commits, we are committed to matching that or leveraging that up to $3.50. In these specific areas of education, health, housing, income, legal services, and social services. The subsequent pages take you through each of the individual 6 priorities. I will actually ask you to go back to page 13 before concluding, but one thing I did want to point out is historically the Office of Hawaiian Affairs has committed and will continue to commit to other state agencies as well as commissions, boards, and the University of Hawaii. From 2007, fiscal year 2007 through the current fiscal year 2015, OHA has committed $57 million to various programs. During the same period of time, as reflected in Table 5, we've received about $25 million worth of general fund. So figure number 7 definitely highlights where our commitment is. We continue to commit to wanting to give back to these various programs because they do indeed assist us with our mission as well.
Figure number 7 on what page? I'm sorry.
I call my page 13.
13.
Okay, 13, okay.
Yes.
Okay. Oh, I see it, okay, yeah. Excellent. Okay, so anything else?
I'm open for questions.
Okay, very good. Okay, so members, any questions for OHA? I guess I could go ahead.
No, you go.
Okay, I just want to start it off, just one quick, I'm very happy to see you're looking at housing. What kind of housing initiatives do you have?
So we actually have a couple of different housing initiatives, not necessarily what we're asking for funding for, but outside of that. So specifically, I'll start, if you don't mind, on page number 21 with our housing infographic. The funding that we are asking for is $910,000 specifically from the state over the biennium, and it's specific to the housing solicitation that has gone out. It's already closed. And in that effort, we are committed to helping to improve financial management, helping to improve home ownership, and it is very specific to our home ownership result in increasing the amount of home ownership among Native Hawaiians. What you'll see reflected here is that OHA also commits $3 million annually to the Department of Hawaiian Homelands, and that specifically is for a commitment to building infrastructure on DHHL land in order to improve housing, the housing count with that as well.
Oh, that's great.
So we have a number of different efforts.
Excellent. Other questions, members?
Just the first time, yeah, Madam Chair. Is this the first time you're including contributions to
Department
the
of
next
Hawaiian
stage?
Homelands?
Yes.
We actually started our commitment
grant
to them.
programs, yeah.
Correct.
Yeah, but
And
now
it is
you're-
via a grant that was issued to Department of Hawaiian Homelands. It's a $3 million commitment that started in fiscal year 2009, and it's a 30-year commitment.
Excellent. Vice Chair, do you have some questions?
What is, for those who aren't eligible for Hawaiian homes,
Yes.
what's the percentage of this commitment that goes to guys who are not on Hawaiian homelands to assist them in the housing?
Okay, so the percentage, I guess, is anyone who's not of blood quantum to qualify for DHHL home
Yeah.
land, anyone
No.
can, okay.
No, in the open market.
So if you look at the infographic on page 21 in housing, we're, as Holly mentioned, we're requesting $910,000 from the state, and OHA is matching basically the $910,000 for housing and income grant provisos, which will go to service providers directly for like rental assistance, IDA accounts to assist in saving for a home, and those are for OHA beneficiaries. Which is
everybody.
all Hawaiians of all blood quantum, correct. The $3 million goes directly to DHHL for DHHL beneficiaries, so that would be the 50%. If that clarifies your question.
Somewhat.
Yeah.
And in quantifying that on page number 21, towards the bottom right-hand side, you'll see that the dollar-for-dollar commitment that we're asking for from the state and then we're matching will actually result in 220 Native Hawaiians receiving rental assistance, up to 4 homes being built, 130 Native Hawaiians participating in the IDA savings for housing, 120 Native Hawaiians obtaining stable rental housing, and 360 Native Hawaiians receiving financial training of some sort.
Other questions? I thought I'd heard that OHA was actually building some rental housing or some kind of homes. Is that going to be happening? Or you folks are thinking about and doing some affordable housing projects, maybe partnering with other agencies? Was that what it was?
I have not heard of that, but what I can speculate that might be referring to is the parcels that we have at Kakakamakai. Certainly, we're under way on our master planning efforts, and we're not excluding anything, as far as I know, from the table in those efforts.
Oh, okay.
Did
so
you want to
Kakako.
elaborate any, Punui?
Yeah, that's the only thing I can think of.
Oh, okay,
that,
maybe it was
yeah.
just rumors. I don't know.
Makai is not housing though.
Not currently. We do have a homeless shelter there at the moment, but
Yeah,
besides
yeah.
that,
Yeah.
But the zoning, the current does not account for housing in Makai, does it?
correct.
Not at this point, correct.
Yeah.
So you'd have to come back here or go to the city to change it.
Yeah, correct. If you recall last session, we did seek approval from the legislature to remove the residential restriction. This year, we put that on hold as we move forward with master planning and obtain input from our beneficiaries, stakeholders, and community members across the Pai'aina, as well as explore conceptual uses. Based on the master plan, the outcomes of the master plan will determine what entitlements, if any, we will need to pursue.
And the homeless shelter, you folks might be closing it? Or what are the plans for the homeless shelter?
So it was established through executive order, if I'm not mistaken, and it continues as is for now. As I just mentioned, we're moving forward with master planning, and we will identify our vision for the long-term use of Lot L, the current warehouse where the homeless shelter is located, but we don't have any other plans for that lot currently.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. Very good. I mean, I'm sure it's. Yeah, I've heard that there's some vacancies, but it's tough because I would think there must be a lot of need for that. I mean, you know,
Yeah.
people are always sleeping out of IHS, sleeping on the sidewalk outside IHS. So
Yeah.
it's a tough call. So
Yeah.
what's the best use? I'm sure.
Yeah.
Okay. Any other questions?
I have a question.
Oh yes.
Yes.
Inouye.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I don't see anything with regards to assisting Native Hawaiians with regards to startup businesses. Do you have a program that does that? You know, if one wants to invest in operating a business for startup capital, where does it show up?
So, Madam Chair, there are a couple of different opportunities, if you will, that Native Hawaiian-owned businesses would have by coming through the Office of Hawaiian Affairs. Number one is the Native Hawaiian Revolving Loan Fund that we administer. It's a joint grant issued from the American for Native Administration for Native Americans, and we've been running that program for over 20 years now, and that is definitely one opportunity for them. We do provide startup capital as well as ongoing business improvement capital as well, and that's one avenue. The other is we don't do any direct service at the Office of Hawaiian Affairs, but we do have a subsidiary called Hi'ile Aloha that does also administer a capacity building program. And they definitely focus on assisting with business plan development and also getting people ready to actually apply for grants.
And do you have this office, or how do one apply for it?
They actually are referred directly to Hi'ile Aloha. They do have a physical location. And if they,
on the islands?
on the yes,
On
correct.
each island?
They actually have a physical location here on Oahu, and they
Okay.
have outreach opportunities on all of the islands.
What name is the outreach offices? Under Hi'aloha?
Yes, correct.
Okay.
So if they call in to the Office of Hawaiian Affairs, we can actually directly refer
Oh,
them.
okay.
We can give them a brochure if they
Yeah.
come in.
I've had several, people, in the communities ask for assistance and things of that nature, but this Hi'aloha, how long have you had it? Because I remember they were having difficult time connecting to somebody, for a program, so all I did was send them to Alulike
Yeah.
because, just for assistance in helping.
Absolutely. Senator, I believe that the specific capacity building program that I'm referring to was started up probably about 3 or 4 years ago now. And what we can do is we can actually put your office directly in contact so that your staff can have
Yeah,
that
it's
information
good to have
as well.
that because,
Absolutely.
yeah. because now my community is from part of Hilo all the way over to Kona, so
Right.
there's a lot of
Right.
Native Hawaiians in that district.
Yeah.
But I had a lot of young ones starting up business in the Hilo district, in my former Hilo district representation.
Yeah.
But again, I think probably at that time it was, before you started the program.
Great. And then we do have physical locations for the Office of Hawaiian Affairs in Hilo and Kona as well. So we'll make sure you get that information.
Okay, thank you. Appreciate that.
And Madam Chair, Senator, I do believe that Hele Aloha did just schedule workshops in the various communities,
Oh, that's
some for
great.
grant writing and capacity building. So we'll make sure that you get a copy
Yes.
of their
To
schedule
encourage people
as
to
well.
show
Yeah.
up, yeah?
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, just to clarify, so your total amount you're requesting is about a little over 8 million? Is that what I'm reading correctly?
In the biennium period, on table number 3, page number 12, in the total biennium, it's actually 7.48 million,
Okay,
which is the very bottom number, and that breaks down to 3.7 million per year. And that
okay.
would be in programmatic support, which is the highlight of our testimony, as well as personnel and operational support.
okay, so 7.48 million for the biennium.
Correct, yes.
Okay.
And how does that break down trust, excuse me, Chair?
Go ahead,
Trust funds and general funds?
So on table number 3, page number 12, 7.483 million ask is actually going to be matched more than a dollar for dollar. We're actually committing over $14 million to that 7.48.
And it breaks through the 6 priority
Correct, yes.
areas.
Correct.
Any other questions, members? Okay. More questions, Vice Chair?
Well, it's a little bit broader than just the budget, and it may be higher than your pay grade for the answer to reach this desk or this table, but the corpus is at what level now? The entire corpus of the Office of Hawaiian Affairs, 400 million?
It's actually with our investment portfolio as well as our land assets,
Yeah.
a little over 600 million.
That's wonderful.
That is wonderful,
It
yes.
is. And OHA is mandated to serve all Hawaiians.
That's correct.
And how many Hawaiians do we have in Hawaii that we serve? Or do we serve worldwide? You got programs off the islands, in the continent and
Our
stuff?
efforts are primarily of the grants that we give, and a lot of our efforts are obviously here in Hawaii, but we do engage in some outreach information on the continent as well.
So the service is, so how many Hawaiians could OHA possibly serve? If we took a look at every Hawaiian in the world?
Yeah, I believe the worldwide total is
Half a million.
somewhere slightly above 500,000.
500?
Wow.
Okay, so to give an idea of the service providing as opposed to the actual number of Hawaiians, how many Hawaiians does OHA serve?
I would say we seek to serve all 520,000.
Wonderful answer. And what is the actual number?
Go ahead.
We do estimate the in-state demand to be as high as 280,000 Native Hawaiians in the state of Hawaii. One thing that we'll clarify is, as you can guess, not all Native Hawaiians are in need of our assistance. Some
That's true.
actually don't even know about us, which we're also trying to, change
Right.
that as well. So we do feel that I think in the last 2-year period, we actually had one-to-one contact with at least 140 Native Hawaiians. And that is through calling into our COC offices, calling into the Office of Hawaiian Affairs. Sometimes it's just simply a referral, but we were able to touch at least 140,000 people, Native Hawaiians specifically.
And that's like Talk Start.
That's Talk Story. That's
Talk
whatever
Story.
they need. Talk
Okay.
Story, referral. Here's our loan program, everything.
How does OHA define need? Because sometimes need is not necessarily a hand out, right? It may be a scholarship. Everybody goes for scholarships, no matter what your socioeconomic position might be. So, in that, I'm trying to find out how many Hawaiians OHA presently serves in a capacity beyond talk story. Can you give me that answer?
There's several different ways I can.
What's the percentage?
Yeah, so there's several different ways I can answer that. One thing that I do want to show you very directly.
It's not a gotcha question.
Here, no, it's not. No. I'm not taking it as
up to a message to your trustees.
No problem.
So,
if I was to specifically refer to our budget testimony and our ask, we are aiming to, in the money that we're seeking from you for programmatic support, we're aiming to specifically hit 15,000 Native Hawaiians.
15,000 Native Hawaiians.
15,000 Native Hawaiians.
So that would be 15,000 Native Hawaiians out of, say, if it's only in Hawaii, 250,000 Native Hawaiians.
Correct.
Hawaiians.
Correct.
Okay.
So in that respect, a very small percentage.
Okay, in that respect, a very small percentage in comparison to the actual value of the office. Okay, so I guess my point being that although it's a policy call and you folks are mandated to stay within a certain limit of your corpus, at this particular point in time, the Office of Hawaiian Affairs might want to expand that a little bit. Since you're up to 600 million, I could see us talking this way if we were at 300 million, which we were.
We were,
I appreciate the fact that your money management was very strong.
Yes.
But here we are at 600,000.
Yeah.
No, go ahead, I'm sorry.
Oh, no, go ahead.
So the point being, perhaps you could look at an expanding and detracting concept, where the more you get, the more you give, because we also do that here at the state.
Yeah.
Okay.
A point of clarification, I think, as Holly mentioned, our overall endowment is so close to 600,000. Our financial assets is approximately 350,000. The remainder is in land assets, 200 or so million of that in Kakakomakai, which is not currently generating revenue or sufficient revenue to fulfill our mission. So it's a little bit of a misrepresentation to look at the 600 million. It's actually the 350 million that is in our financial portfolio, which is generating a return, of which we use 5% to directly impact our mission. That's our spending policy, which is consistent with other endowments. A 5% spending policy is fairly consistent among other large endowments that are meant to serve our beneficiaries into perpetuity.
I get it. I do understand. But you're a quasi-autonomous state agency, too.
Right.
So, six here, half a dozen there. You got to figure this out that when the legislature makes our policy calls, it's based on another formula, not an endowment formula.
Right.
So I see the chair's aide over there, and perhaps you might want to take it back with him that, we ask the trustees to reconsider the policy, that perhaps 5% plus maybe, so that, because we all want to know that we're giving as much as we can, and especially for the host culture and the Native Hawaiian people. And so I wanted to leave that with you folks. And I'm going to keep on saying that year after year after year, at least for the next 3.
Sure. Sure.
Okay.
Mr. Vice Chair, if you would indulge me, when we met on January 6th, we had a joint informational briefing between House Finance and Senate WAM. Representative Kobayashi actually shared some very similar comments, and we actually responded to those comments in a letter that we drafted to him, and we've attached it to the testimony that we provided for you here today. And I would, if you can, I would like you to actually look at a couple of different tables we included in that response.
Okay.
And I'm sorry, that page is not specifically numbered, but it's going to be after Appendix B, and it's going to be after the response to the Chair Luke and Chair Tokuda.
Is that close to the end?
Yeah, so it's towards the end, and it starts on page number 2 of the last document. And it's table number 1 on page number 2, Chair Luke and Representative Kobayashi.
Okay.
Right.
Table number 1, and it is attachment A as well, but what we were hoping to highlight here is if you look from '05 through 2014 by fiscal year, you'll actually see that if you look at our financial statements, there's a line called excess of revenues over expenditures. So in fiscal year 14, part of the comment that he had was, hey, you've actually been able to make $22 million last year, which technically you didn't spend, which is true. So why? Why aren't you spending that $22 million? Because you made it. And what we're hoping to show in this table is despite the fact that we were able to make money or have excess revenue during that year, if you look at the year before, we actually had to dip into corpus, if you will. The year before that, we had excess. We did not have excess. We had a deficit from revenues over expenditures. So if you take the average, what we're highlighting is even though on average over the 10-year period, we actually had excess interest and investment earnings of $220 million, we certainly are spending what we need to spend. And that is reflected in the fact that we've actually had a net spending deficit of $8 million during that same period. So we're not simply just aiming to add to our surplus, and I know that's not what you were insinuating in that case.
Yeah, no, not at all. Not at all. As a matter of
that.
fact, I mean, you folks were down, so you guys, now you're made whole. And
Exactly.
I totally
Yes.
understand that. I'm looking at policy here.
Exactly,
Okay,
and I
so,
understand that.
So that's where I guess the discussion was.
Yes,
You know,
absolutely.
The real game is in front of us, but in times of, you know, in good times.
Yes, exactly.
We can help more.
Yep, and I
So
agree.
perhaps you can reflect that in policy. I don't know. Is it reflected in policy?
It actually
is.
is, Senator.
okay.
Our spending policy is based off of 5% of
Yeah.
the rolling past 20 quarter average. So in good times, the 20 quarter average will increase. In bad times, the 20 quarter average will decrease.
Yes.
And that's what our spending policy is based off of.
20 quarters is how long?
5 years.
5 years.
It's 5 years, yes. And,
Okay, got it.
and on table number 2, on just the very next page of that response, one thing I did want to also highlight is from our peak of that 20 quarter rolling average in fiscal year 09, we actually peaked at about 400 million just in our investment portfolio. We're unfortunately down to about 340 at the end of as far as the 20 quarter rolling average goes. So one thing that we want to make sure is that we spend as much money as we can to also ensure that future generations are going to be able to benefit.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we understand that,
Okay.
sure. Okay, thank you, Madam Chair.
Okay, we are going to recess this hearing and go back into the joint Hawaiian Affairs Agriculture hearings. We will gavel back in, and let's now move to the next measure on our Hawaiian Affairs agenda, which is SB 1166 relating to the Penal Code. Whoops, I'm sorry. Yeah, I'm sorry, going back, I'm sorry, so SB 438 OHA budget. Was there anyone else wishing to testify on this measure?
Yes, Dan Purcell.
Oh, okay, sorry, Dan.
Sorry, yeah, no problem.
Okay,
Thank you. Dan Purcell, member of the public, and I hadn't necessarily intended to provide testimony, but since you went into a discussion and a lot of questions in advance, I would recommend to Senator Galuteria that the state can tax people regarding their budget. OHA cannot. The state can always, you talk about the way they budget. OHA doesn't have the ability to tax its beneficiaries. It's very, very different from a budgeting perspective. Much mahalo.
thank you very much. Anyone else want to testify on the OHA budget? Okay, seeing none, then let's move on to SB 1166 relating to the recommendation of the chair is to pass as is. Any questions or discussion? Okay, seeing none, Vice Chair?
All right, SB 438, Chair recommends passing unamended. Chair votes aye, Vice Chair votes aye. Senator Inouye?
Aye.
Senator Kahele? Aye. Senator Slom is excused, adopted, Chair.
Thank you so much for the SB 1166.